All right, before we start today's regularly scheduled program, I had the privilege of sitting down and talking with the Free Thought Profit podcast, Seamus and John. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
Great to talk with you, Michael.
Glad to have you on. So first off, right out of the ball, why Free Thought Profit podcast? What guys, why'd you name it?
I can take a stab at that first because Seamus is too modest. So I guess anyone who's had these kind of discussions, Michael, with a bunch of people, let's say from a Christian persuasion, will have heard a story along the lines of, I was this terrible heathen atheist. And then I had a near-death experience and I went to the light and I experienced Jesus in heaven. And here I am, this convinced Christian, to tell you the truth. So Seamus had that experience in precisely the opposite direction. He was already a conservative Christian law enforcement officer. He had a very significant, I shouldn't go into the medical details, but let's say a very significant medical incident while on the job and had a near-death experience and did not see the light and did not see Jesus and it was like a pretty scary time, but he did his own reading afterwards and realized that everything that he went through is entirely consistent with oxygen deprivation, which is what his brain was suffering from the time.
Science.
So he was then in a conservative Christian environment and became an unbeliever, which was not very popular, and he had to invent an anonymous persona online in order to continue those conversations. And that's where the Free Thought Prophet came from. And I've been hanging off his coattails ever since.
I love it. That's a great story, man.
The last part's a complete lie.
Yeah. So why did you start the podcast? So you were online, you were doing stuff. Were you interacting with Christians, or how'd that work?
Some. I mean, the biggest thing, I was doing a lot of memes and just, different craziness.
Yeah.
Just the usual, once you realized all that shit was bullshit, and then you get angry and you want to tell the world and scream, to the heavens, but
right.
You know what I mean? So, I was doing all that, and then I kept on listening. I got in the podcast, and, I was like, I do music and, kind of creative person. I try to be anyway. So I thought, well, maybe this would be a cool vehicle to do it. So I started out, like, first few episodes, I tried to be funny and really just couldn't figure out where I wanted to go.
Right.
And then obviously I got an Irish background in my, family. Hello, Seamus. So I thought, well, Ireland, there's got to be, an atheist group, because that's basically the Pope's summer home. So there has to be some sort of resistance. So
right.
I found Atheist Ireland, and they recommended John Hamill to come on the show. And just before me and him meeting, I was already thinking, man, it would be better if I had somebody to riff off of or something. And it was like, as soon as we started talking, it was like, I'd already known this person. You know what I mean? It was just kidding me. And like within an hour afterwards, it's like, dude, do you want to do this? And he agreed, and I've been lucky to have him, or been stuck with him, or he's
never left.
Yeah.
That's all bollocks, Michael. What happened was Seamus decided he wanted some eye candy, and he did many curtain calls, many tryouts, and I'm just the eye candy that made it to the end.
Going through all those face shots, trying to find the right one.
That's right. Yeah.
Landed on John. Well, I'm glad you guys are together. Great show, by the way. I love your guys' banter back and forth, and the guests you guys have on are fun as well. Love it. So how long have you guys been doing this?
Oh, geez. Actually, we're looking at an anniversary, I think, today. Holy shit. John, it's our anniversary.
Really?
Happy anniversary, guys.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's since 2015 when John came on, as of today. So, wow, I just realized
I
that.
did not know that.
Congrats.
What's that, 6 years?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think on the numbered episodes, it's 270 or something like that. But then there's a big bunch of specials on top of that. So it must be way over 300.
Yeah, plus we had 30 36 Bible episodes that are separate.
Yeah, that's we're treading on Michael's toes there. So we spent some time, Michael, just reading through the Gospels. So part of the background of that was exactly, yeah. So Seamus had a particular interest and knowledge of a lot of the contradictions, and on my side, I remember. I had a Catholic upbringing, and at the time of my life when you're having a bunch of doubts and you're thinking maybe this is all bullshit, just by happenstance, I saw an interview with Penn and Teller, and Penn Jillette was at that point kind of the only atheist on TV, and someone asked him that question about how did you become an atheist, and his advice was, look, if anyone's having any doubts, the thing to do is just pick up the Bible and read it, and that'll make your mind up for you. And the Old Testament's too long and boring, so I thought I'll just pick up the Gospels, and I read a couple of the Gospels and thought, right, that's it. But I have, like my abiding memory of it was just so dull. You think, really, this is the book the creator of the universe wrote?
This is the greatest story of all time, didn't you know?
Yeah, it's such dross. That's the bit, I guess, is starting on your toes, because my other memory from it was, I remember in the particular flavor of Catholicism that I was brought up in, the whole exorcism thing is kind of treated with a bit kid gloves. People are a bit embarrassed by it, really. The idea of a priest walking around shouting the power of Christ compels you and stuff like this, it's all a bit silly, so nobody really talked about it much. But then if you pick up the Gospels, like, Jesus does hardly anything else. He's casting out demons on almost every page. It's like for sure it must be the most common miracle that Jesus performs, is to cast out demons.
Yeah, he loves doing that. That's for sure. So while we're on the Bible, is there a favorite Bible verse for you guys?
For me, yes, definitely. It has to be the zombie invasion of Jerusalem of 33 AD. Yes, indeed, in Matthew. And that's it. That's my abiding memory, actually, of walking through the contradictions with Seamus, because if you hear Christian apologists very often, they'll say, you pick up this thing with the nativity or whatever, and maybe there's a contradiction there, but it's not really very important. But then the area of the Gospels where there are the most contradictions is the Passion, the Crucifixion, the Resurrection. That's where all the real contradictions are, and you
ones.
think exactly. Yeah, I mean, even from the perspective of people writing the story down, you think they would be kind of careful to get that part right, but seemingly not.
Yeah, they can't even agree on what he said before he died. It's ridiculous.
His last words, yes, are different between different Gospels.
Yeah, we've got two robbers. Sometimes they're just two men. Sometimes there's nothing said between them. It's so ridiculous that the amount of contradictions that are in that book. It really should name it the Book of Contradictions as opposed to the Book of Life or Best Book Ever, whatever.
John mentioned the Resurrection Contradictions, and I wrote this down a while back. According to the Gospels, in the morning before or after the sun rose, Mary approached the tomb along with the other Mary, or a bunch of women, or by herself. The two moved before or after they arrived. Mary spoke to one angel, two angels, or two angels and Jesus. The women may or may not have told anyone because they may have been too afraid or filled with great joy. Jesus spent all day with the disciples, or not somewhere. Jesus ascended into heaven that day, 8 days or 40 days after the resurrection. Yeah.
That's fucking perfect.
just a little bit of changes, nothing.
Right.
Nothing too minor.
Man.
But as far as my favorite scripture, it probably has to be Deuteronomy 25:11 through 12, which is basically this idea that if two men are fighting and the wife or girlfriend of the other grabs a man by the testicles, she's got to have her hand cut off. I'm just thinking, That's way too specific. That had to have happened.
Somebody's wife did that, and they're like, "You touched his
"No."
testicles off with her hand."
Yeah. It's just way too
Actually, given the season that's in it, isn't there a prohibition against Christmas trees?
Mhm.
Is it Jeremiah? I can't remember
Yep.
what the verse is now, but it
think you're right.
basically says, the pagans bring the trees into their house at midwinter and decorate them with silver and gold. Don't do that.
Don't
That's
do
a
it.
pagan thing.
And Christians have turned it around to mean that the tree is all about Jesus. No,
Yeah.
no. They can twist anything. It's
And the other
amazing.
thing, yeah, and the other thing that always cracks me up about the pagans and Jesus, right? The Lord's Prayer. If you look at that actual scripture, before he says it, he says, "Don't repeat this. Make up your own." But yet he repeated this thing ad nauseum for centuries.
Centuries,
Right?
man.
Yeah, he's like, "Make up your own. This is just an example, dudes."
And doesn't Jesus also say, "Don't go to church, don't go and
Well,
stop
yeah, kind of.
group, go and pray on
Then he
your own"?
says he does.
Pray on
Then
your
he
own, yeah.
But I think he does say go to church later, doesn't he, or something? Those are like, it's better to worship alone, but then you should be with your fellow brother. It's another one of those like, what? Huh? Make up your mind, dude.
It's hard to take any of that Jesus story seriously because there's so many different contradictions. And then my favorite part of it, the whole thing, is the loving part. It's just not in there. He may say love your neighbors, but the dude's going to come back and send fire and angels and death and destruction. That's not loving, man.
It's like what the 72 different villages or something that didn't take the disciples in. They're going to get more hell and fire than Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah. It's like, what the, I never seen The Temptation of the Christ until like a year or two ago. And the best is Harvey Keitel, where Willem Dafoe is like, I finally figured it out. I know what I'm here for, my purpose. And he's telling him, Judas, Harvey Keitel's like, every day with you, it's a different thing. It's this, now it's that. Just like, oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing. That was like, perfect.
Well, you've inspired me. It's been too long since I've seen that movie. I need to see that again.
That's the best part. The best part of the whole movie.
Awesome, especially with William Dafoe and Harvey Keitel.
All right.
You can't go wrong with that combo. What is your guys' favorite part of podcasting? You guys have been doing it a while. Trials and errors, through it all. What's your favorite part?
John? Probably drinking whiskey.
That's a good question. We've done some great whiskey episodes, actually. I have to say, when we started off, a big goal for us was, there's a bunch of authors that we'd read that were keen to get on.
Yeah.
So we've had Lawrence Krauss and Sean Carroll, and there's a big long list of kind of famous names that have come on the podcast more than once, and that's great. But I have to say, I enjoy the other episodes now that we do ourselves.
Yeah.
If we made a big list of people would want on again, I'm not too sure we'll go back to all of the famous authors. I enjoy the other episodes we do ourselves more. Sometimes we pick kind of a funny story from history, and we'll have 2 or 3 people on, and somebody will prepare the story, and nobody else knows what's coming. So we're all just riffing off that.
That's awesome.
And very often it's it has a religious angle. So we did our favorite Catholic saints once, and we did a few of the apparition stories, which were good fun. But yeah, if the ones that I look forward to, Seamus, are those ones more than the big names.
Lately I've been enjoying that the most, honestly, just because it's a lot of fun and going back and forth. And I think one episode that I think that just doesn't get the love it should, which is one of those, although it's not quite what we call them historical cracks, as in like the Irish term crack being good time, fun time, not but hey, but we did one where John had again surprised the shit out of me with basically like the meaning behind the Big Lebowski. And
Oh yeah, that was
Mm.
good.
yeah, well, I mean, you would explain it to Michael because I can't put into really words.
Well, I can't remember which one of the Coens it is, but one of the Coens is a philosophy major, and there's so much philosophy in the movie that misses you and passes you by. Like in the Dude's House, for example, there's a couple of Jean-Paul Sartre books. There's this theme in Nietzsche of eternal recurrence, and you might remember from the film there's the same lines that were repeated over and over in the parlance of our times and stuff like that, get repeated over and over in a kind of Nietzschean way. And aside from that, all of the characters represent different philosophical outlooks. So famously there's actual nihilists in it. I think Bunny Lebowski is the hedonist, and I think Walter is a pretty typical neoconservative. Isn't Smokey a pacifist? So, and then the dude himself is kind of a Taoist. So, yeah, you go through all of the characters, and there's very heavy philosophical / religious overtones to the whole thing.
Well, there you have it. Never knew.
Yeah, it freaking blew my mind, because I mean that's like one of the movies I've probably watched more than any, and I never
Such a fun movie.
But yeah, I never put that together, and I was
No.
like, I could never watch the movie again. The same way.
Thanks for ruining it, John.
Yeah, John. What the fuck? It's like what's her face on The Big Bang ruined Indiana Jones for everybody.
Oh no,
Lost Ark. Did you ever hear that?
No, go ahead and ruin it.
I want to tell you it. If I tell you, it's gonna ruin it for you.
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, so basically, it's Sheldon's girlfriend, Amy. I think that's what her name is. So after watching it, she concluded that really Indiana Jones played no role in the actual events that occurred. Because you think about it, the Ark still ended up where it was going to be.
He didn't do it. Yeah, he didn't stop it.
He didn't do it. Yeah. So he was just like, basically, our eyes or us as the audience going along for the ride, I guess. But I mean,
yeah,
he was just running around on the sidelines, cracking his whip, and everything else.
Yeah, it's just like it all would have happened anyways,
Well, in the Last Crusade, throwing things around. In the Last Crusade, though, I mean, he did find the Holy Grail. Let's see, and the other one, Temple of Doom, he did stop the guys in the Temple of Doom, but I can see the other.
This was just a reference to the Raiders Lost Ark.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So
I'm going to watch that again for sure. That's so funny. Indiana Jones, great film though. Besides what the remake crap they did with it.
So there's another one coming.
Yeah.
Buckle up, Buttercup. One more to come.
I was really hoping that other guy would continue on. What's that kid's name? The Buff. Yeah. I was kind of hoping he would just take over the reins and go, but no, we're gonna have a 90-year-old Indiana Jones coming up. Yeah. That should be interesting. He's gonna crack his whip and break his back at the same time. They should just stop. Speaking of films, what's your guys' favorite film?
I'm a Coen Brothers fan, so Miller's Crossing has to be up there. And what else? I'm looking forward to Macbeth. Again, I keep mixing the two brothers up, but whichever one hasn't retired has the first Coen Brothers movie where there's only one of the brothers involved is coming up. It's Macbeth. Denzel Washington plays Macbeth. What else?
Denzel.
I like non-Coen Brothers movies. Doctor Strangelove, I would watch.
Oh yeah,
that's very funny.
Yeah.
Good times.
I love all those films. I'm a huge Miller's Crossing fan. Also, of course, I can't. Taxi Driver is probably one of my favorites.
Travis.
Yeah.
Film.
I'm also. I know this is not something that John likes to talk about. David Lynch. I'm a huge David Lynch fan.
Oh man.
No, which no, it is not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
David Lynch is like the movie equivalent of modern art. You know that old joke, Michael, about modern art, and you look at all these paintings and you wonder what the hell is that? And people ask, well, how would you know if you did a bad one? Like I heard one of these modern artists do a painting and say, "No, that's a bit shit. I'll throw that one out and do a different." I think that about David Lynch films. Like, how would you know if he did a bad one? I'm pretty sure I could get a big bunch of random clips, string them all together. It would be utter shite, and I would put David Lynch's name at the front, and lots of people would say it'd be wonderful. It was like that. There's a famous thing happened in one of those modern art galleries where someone left their glasses on the floor in the corner and walked away, and they came back half an hour later. There was 20 people around taking pictures of their glasses.
That's the best.
They're all rubbing their chin and inhaling steeply through their teeth and talking to each other about what this meant.
Wasn't there an artist like last year, I think, basically said that he had created the art, it's a conceptual thing, and you're just gonna have to buy the idea. And you like don't see it.
Oh yeah.
You're just gonna have to buy the idea and accept it. And he like sold it for like 20 grand or something crazy like that.
When I go to modern art, I think of that Simpsons episode where Homer created the whole trash can thing with jiggling art and everything, and they sold the Angry Man or whatever it was. Oh, good times. Good times. Go. So you guys got any plans for the future for your podcast? Where are you headed? What do you any ideas?
To hell.
What's coming up, Seamus? What's the next? The next episode, I think, is a whiskey episode. So we'll be interviewing the owner of a new whiskey brand.
Nice.
So yeah, we've done a few blind tastings with the whiskey.
Oh yeah.
We've had a few people on who are building their own distillery.
Wow.
So yeah, those discussions normally go well. They start off well, Michael. By the end, we're normally talking like a washing machine, but that's okay.
That's half the fun right there, though.
That's it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we also got what we talked before about historical cracks. We actually have a returning guest who's also a published author, Barry Purcell. He's written for Private Eye and I forget what Irish Times. Bunch of
wow.
He's a great satirist. He's hilarious. But he's been on our show probably more than anybody. But he's going to bring his own historical crack for us, so that'll be a lot of fun.
That's always
cool. If it
cool.
doesn't involve Wittgenstein, I'll be very disappointed, Seamus.
No doubt.
He's a big Wittgenstein fan.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't know what that is. What's Wittgenstein?
Wittgenstein is the name of a philosopher. I think he was a contemporary of Kierkegaard and maybe Nietzsche and a bunch of all of those guys. And I only know one thing about Wittgenstein, which is he wrote one paper which said, "All you philosophy guys are just full of shit. This is just wordplay. You're just
I like this guy.
In pure
That's awesome.
I can't remember. Did he make the Philosopher's Drinking Song by Eric Idle? I can't remember.
He might have.
I know everybody else you just mentioned are in there, but I can't remember if Wittgenstein is.
I can't remember which one. Wasn't there a bunch of them ended up going mad, and some of them killed themselves, and some of them ended up, homeless, drunks, and stuff like that. I can't remember if Wittgenstein was one of those.
They're all like Icarus, man. They're trying to look for a big meaning, and they stare too close to the sun.
That's it.
Yep. So just like us, John. That's what's going to happen.
Well, there you go.
Except for us, it's just at the end of the bottle.
There's a good life lesson. Seamus, don't think too hard about it. Just pour another whiskey.
There you go. Cheers to that.
Indeed.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Why don't we tell everybody where we can find your stuff?
Oh, geez. Now it's pretty much everywhere. We just found what we got on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartMedia, YouTube. Obviously, it's where it all kind of started and went bad, of course. Podbean, pretty much everywhere. What's the cliche? Wherever good podcasts are, found.
Wherever you can find great podcasts and shitty podcasts.
Yeah, that's it. We're there. Hopefully somewhere in between.
Well, definitely stop by, check it out, everybody. The Free Thought Prophet. Great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
kindly, Michael. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you guys later.
Cool.
Take care.
Just a quick announcement before I begin the intro. As an added holiday season bonus for the patrons of the show, I have recently posted 2 unaired conversations to the patron feed. These conversations did not go well. Hope you enjoy the fun. Happy holidays. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Personal experience. Some find personal testimony convincing. I do not. I need more evidence. Try it on me. If the results don't impress me, then I'm not a believer. If you have the truth, provide it. Your friend's cancer going into remission, receiving rent money in a time of need, a coworker seeing something you told them they would see. None of these are valid reasons to believe in the extraordinary. When I'm told something that sounds far-fetched, I'm not going to automatically fall in line and believe. It's going to take a lot more than a tale about the improbable happening for me to believe that the improbable has or does happen. Also, general and blanket statements leave the assertion completely open to interpretation. If I say the number 22 has significance to you, then your brain is going to try and connect the dots that lead you to an understanding of how that number fits into either your past, present, or future. We are pattern-seeking animals. This has both hindered and helped us along our evolutionary journey. But when it comes to things like psychics and astrology, I feel these things have stunted our growth as a species. We have been duped into believing in magic and nonsense. These things have been debunked over and over again. Psychics continually fail to prove their abilities, and the main issue with astrology is the fact that there is a global wobble that causes the astrological signs and dates to spill over into other astrological signs and dates. It's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and the less mumbo jumbo we carry with us, the better off we are as a species. Test your beliefs, challenge your deeply held assumptions, and if they can't stand up to opposition and logic, then maybe it's time to put them aside and find another outlet or hobby. Let's start the show.
Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is spiritual medium, mentor, and teacher, Patricia Horton. Welcome to the show, Patricia.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. I hear you wrote a new book, I Am the Light. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I did. This is a book of channeled wisdom and where the teachings of Christ, when applied to our everyday lives, can show us the way. It's filled with teachable life moments and where peace, love, prayer, hope, and faith become the stepping stones towards that oneness with God. So a lot of people like to use it as a daily devotional, and it came to be from information that I began channeling in 2013 until the present.
So that's awesome. Nice job. That's a lot. Not easy to do is complete a book, let me tell you.
Yeah,
so
not easy, but it's fun.
I'm unfamiliar with what a medium does. And I was kind of hoping you can clear that out for me. What is the difference between, let's say, a medium and a psychic?
Okay, so what a medium does is we become the conduit between here and the spirit world. So we allow the spirit people to draw close to us and communicate information on a soul level to the person who's sitting before us. So being a medium for me, for instance, means that I can become in tune with your soul, and they'll give me information that will serve your greatest good and highest joy during the time of our sitting together. A medium can also communicate with those who have crossed over, but mediumship is multifaceted, just like anything is in life. And so it's just not one thing. There's a lot of people misunderstand it and think it's only about the dead. Well, it is in a sense about those who have crossed over, but it's also about those who reside in the spirit world, like the Christ and the ascended masters and the angels and all of those things. So they step forward and they use the medium as a tool to have their voices heard in this world.
Interesting. So have you always had this ability to talk to spirit people?
Since I became aware of the spirit people when I was 8 years old. So that's when my life changed and I became aware that I was a little bit different than everybody else, but it was just a natural thing for me. So it was nothing that I went and became someone that I wasn't. I still was this little kid who liked to do things with my family and all of those things, but I had the spirit world nudging me, and allowing me to know things before they happen, like the weather. So that was like the first thing that happened to me as a child.
They told you the weather.
Yeah, I would know before, especially in winter, I would know ahead of time how many inches of snow would be coming before the weatherman would announce it on the news. And so I was very in tune with what was happening with the weather. And that was just
Interesting.
the way that I was awakening. So my connection to spirit was through nature. So through the natural world. And so I was very much in tune with the animals and the weather and all of those types of things that surround us.
You don't talk to animals, do you?
No. When I was
okay.
little, I could get animals to draw close to me in the wild, but I'm not an animal communicator, no.
Gotcha. So these spirit people, did they come to you at 8 years old and say, hey, the snow's going to fall? Or how did that work for you?
Well, when I was 8, the way that it happened is my grandmother appeared in my bedroom when I was,
Ooh, that's kind of creepy.
in the middle of the night, and
That's definitely creepy.
She was illuminated in a coffin, and she sat up and stretched her arms out to me, and I was raised Catholic, so and 7 white crosses flew from her heart and into my own, and I thought it was going to be taken away to hell, and I was going to die for some simple thing I must have done. And it was just her coming forward to let me know that there was something different about me, and it was the awakening of my ability to communicate, which I developed when I became 18 and older. That's when I began to say, there's more to me than meets the eye. I need to find out about this. So that's how it went.
You actually see these apparitions, like a ghost form, like an actual physical.
At times I do. I can see them in my mind's eye. I can communicate what they look like. I can communicate who they are, where they fall inside the family. They give me numbers and information and confirmation around the person's life. So that's how it works. But, my mom raised me as a Catholic. When I was 13, I said, I need to leave the church because what the priest is giving me isn't filling me, even though my love of God and Christ was so deep, and it was that upbringing in the church that solidified that for me, and it was able to become that foundation beneath my feet as I really dove deep into my spiritual side of life.
The spirit world, I'm very curious. You mentioned the spirit world. Can you describe the spirit world to me and why we can't see it?
Well, we can all sense it. I believe everybody can sense it. You'll sense it. You ever get goosebumps? You feel like someone's near. Oh, that was weird. Or why is my ear ringing? Or why am I thinking of such and such? Or I might find a coin on the floor and someone might pop into your mind, or a song will come on the radio. That's the spirit world drawing close to people here on earth to communicate with them. We can't really see. If we could see it, everybody would probably just not be able to function in life. And we were born to function as a human being for multiple lessons on a soul level, for soul growth.
How do you know it's the spirit world giving you those tingly feelings or thoughts? How do you know?
Because when they give them to me, I'll say, okay, who's here and what's your message for me? I could be in the middle of a grocery store and they'll draw close to me and I'll say, okay, I hear you. Who's here and what's your message for me? And I quiet myself enough to hear what the message is. And then if it's a message for somebody close to me, I won't go up to a stranger because that's an ethical bound I won't cross. I always tell the spirit people, if you have somebody you want me to read for, bring them to me. Let them approach me, because it's not my place to come to them. So I'll go and I'll get the confirmation from the message that I received for the person who it was for.
Can you give me an
and
example of that working out and how that happened?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example of a very good friend of mine. Her and her whole family rode motorcycles. And I used to ride too. I worked construction. So I was a construction worker for 30 plus years while I also worked with my spirit gift. So I very much kept one foot in the physical world and one foot on my spiritual path. So my friend Robin popped into my mind, and I heard, tell Robin not to ride her motorcycle. So I said, okay. So I called her on the phone. I said, Robin, whatever you do, don't ride your motorcycle. And Robin knew, because things would come through and Robin would listen. So Robin says to her whole family, don't ride your bikes this weekend. Patty said, let the weekend pass and then we could ride again. So she was supposed to go riding with her girlfriend, and she told her girlfriend, listen, my friend Patty called me up and she said, don't ride her motorcycle, so I'm not going to ride. And the girl goes, that's crazy. I'm going riding. Are you sure you don't want to come? And Robin said, no, Patty said not to ride. So Robin didn't go riding, but her friend did. And her friend was hit by a car. And Robin would have been riding with her. She was hit in an intersection by a motor vehicle. So if Robin would have been on the road with her, she would have also been in that same accident, because they would have been riding side by side. Well, they would have been close together, but she took the time not to ride. She heeded the warning. That's one thing. I had another friend. I said, don't ride a motorcycle. So behind my back, she went and took a test. And I said, you belong on 4 wheels, not 2 wheels. And she went and did the test anyway. And she ended up tearing her Achilles heel, and she's had issues with her leg ever since. So there's little things like that warning.
How do these spirit people know what's going to happen?
They're wiser than you or I. They can see beyond time. They can see beyond what we can see. If they come to me and I know that I shouldn't do something, I won't do it, because I look at the warning as a gift. They're telling me, don't do this, because if you do this, there's all of these things that will follow. So I've always followed that guidance. They don't only give me warnings, they give me lots of wonderful things. I'll know when someone's pregnant. My niece walked by at Christmas years ago, and I saw her pregnant, and she walked in the door, and I said, are you pregnant? She's like, no. And I said, I see you pregnant, and you're going to, I'm not having
People get pregnant all the time, though. I mean, that's not really the best example.
Well, I think it's a pretty good example, because she had no intention of getting pregnant. She had no intent.
Was that a ghost?
No, but you know what I mean? I mean, you know what? I'm not here to make anybody believe anything. I'm just here to explain things. So I always tell people, I'm not here to convince you of anything one way or another. It's the truth that resides within you that will awaken to any words that I might speak, or messages I might share, or information that might resonate as truth for them as they seek to awaken their own spirituality.
So when we die, we get this knowledge. Is that what you're saying? We're going to get this knowledge, and I'm going to be able to float my ghostly body over to somebody who can see me and say, hey, it's going to snow 2 inches today, or hey, don't ride your motorcycle, or don't go out in that car. Is that?
It doesn't necessarily work. This is the way that it works for me. It works, like I said, it works differently for everybody else. And we all can communicate from the other world. Okay, here's an example. My father-in-law, John, passed away. And I said to John, John, when we're at the funeral, please make your presence known and make the lights go on and off. So I said this to myself. I didn't say it to anybody else. So I went up and I read my eulogy, and I always read eulogies at people's funerals. It's something that I'm always asked to do. So nothing happened, and I was sitting there, and his nephew, who had come in from another state, decided that I didn't know there were tons of people that were going to read. He got up there and started reading and telling stories about John's life. When all of a sudden there was an arch of lights just over the top of where the coffin was. The arch of lights went off and then back on, while all of the other lights in the room stayed on.
That's what he did. He just made lights go on. He didn't talk or come up and show himself. He's got this awesome ability. He can.
He did
move
show
lights
himself.
Around.
Well, he did show himself. He showed himself in a way that I had asked him to. He even showed himself.
You didn't ask him to. You said you kept it to yourself.
I did ask him. I kept it to myself. I didn't make an announcement. I was my talk between John and I.
Gotcha.
Can you? John,
so you said it out loud. It wasn't in your head. Gotcha.
Right. I said it to John while I was preparing his eulogy, while I was preparing something to read in his honor. And they said, at the funeral today, make your presence known, make the lights go on and off. I knew that because I said that to me. And I asked, and people said, there were people in the audience and family members, and they're like, did you see the lights go on and off? And it was incredible because everybody felt his presence in that moment.
I think it would have been a little more credible if he did something besides make some lights go on and off. So I just want to be clear. You told it to him, or you said it to yourself in your head during the eulogy?
No, I said it before the funeral. I said
Okay.
it while I was preparing his eulogy the days before. The spirit world isn't just going to come and go, boo, here I am. The spirit world doesn't show up just to say, hello, see ya, and then disappear. That's not the way that they work. They always come through for people because they want to give you a message of hope, of healing, to help people move through their grieving, to heal any things that might have happened to them in life and that couldn't transcend death. So they always come for a reason. They just don't come to say, hey, here I am. Hope you're doing well. Gotta go. Bye. For me,
that's not what those lights were. It was just kind of a comforting thing. Hey, I'm here. I'm all right. I'm not dead. I'm just kind of able to
the lights
make electricity.
You know, the spirit people, those who are in the other world are more alive than you and I. Just remember that, because they have freedom of movement. We don't. We have this big, heavy carcass that we carry around with us. The spirit people have freedom of movement. They don't have a human body.
Movement through
they can go from spirit world to the earth plane, visit with their relatives, try to comfort them from the other side, and then move back into the spirit plane. So they're not just stuck in one place. We are here. We're in this body, and we're here to live this life.
Wow.
So the lights were a way for him. I asked him for a sign, and that was the sign he gave me. I mean, have you ever met anybody that says, I'm asking for a sign? I asked for a sign. I got a sign today. Have you ever had
I asked for signs for years for God and never got anything. So
okay, have you asked from anybody that has crossed over? God gives me signs all the time.
Yeah, you know, there was a relative, my great grandpa. I missed him a lot. When I was younger, he died. That would have been nice if he showed up, or I don't know, it would have been better if he didn't just flicker some lights or something. It'd be nice if he actually showed up.
Well, how do you know he did? But how do you know that he didn't? You know, they come to us.
I haven't heard from him.
They come to us in our dreams. They come to us in our thoughts. We might be
How do you know your dreams?
Them.
Okay, see, that's weird. The dream part. I have lots of dreams. My dreams are all over the place. I mean, you got horror to action adventure to, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know that these dreams are actually really telling you something, or it's not just your subconscious going on a fucking wild roller coaster ride,
Because we're all the orders of our own life, right? And so when we do get dreams, there's information in those dreams that validate part of our living. Now, some of our dreams are wild, like, you might have some wild, crazy dreams. We all have wild, crazy dreams, but our loved ones do and can show up in our dream state. They'll
because
show
they're
up
in our subconscious, for sure.
Well, I don't believe that it's only in our subconscious. I believe, and I know because I've had so much validation through all the readings that I've done, people literally crying from the information and the validation given to them from the spirit world, from their loved ones who have crossed over, things that I wouldn't know, things that only they would know.
Yeah.
And so those things happen in a reading. And, and if you're a non-believer, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not here to
Just not
convince you or
convinced.
Change your mind.
Just not convinced.
And
that's
okay.
all. It seems very far-fetched for me.
Right. You don't have to be convinced. And so I'm not here to say, if you don't believe me, I don't, you know what I mean? I'm that's not my vibe. That's not my vibe. And I tell people too, I tell them, you guys come to me, you're talking to me, you're asking me questions because there's a part of you that's curious about the unknown and about the spirit world. And there are people that can communicate with God. There are people that can communicate with the Christ.
Say they can.
I've
yet to meet one that actually can.
look at the Bible. Look at the Bible.
Look at it.
The Bible has things that have, that have come true. But when it comes to prophecy and when it comes to the prophetic, it doesn't mean that it's going to come through in an instant. It means that it's given and it can come true later in life, later in years. That's the way that prophecy works from my own perspective, in mysterious ways.
Anything that works in mysterious ways, I have an issue with, 100%.
Well,
besides cell phones, those work in mysterious ways, but that's different.
that's kind of, okay. So cell phone, right? So that's the
Mhm.
way, let's talk about cell phones. So
Cool.
the spirit world communicates kind of like a cell phone, right?
Okay.
When the medium or the person who is going to do the communication with the spirit world,
Mhm.
they open it up and their Wi-Fi signal goes out. And so their Wi-Fi signal goes out, and then the spirit people connect on that frequency. And so the
Huh.
information begins to be downloaded into the medium or the person or the spirit, the person who's going to speak on behalf of the spirit world. So that's how it works. So it's a frequency like through a cell phone that works in a mysterious way where one voice is heard by another in their ear, in their mind, in their sight.
Gotcha. Let's do this. I'm just
Okay.
very curious. Have you heard, has any spirits talked to you about me or the show or anything in related to that?
You know what? I didn't sit and ask. I just came here open to the
Mm.
conversation and to the communication, because I could have sent you a message and said, what is it that we're going to talk about? But I always trust that, the spirit world and God and those who work with me are going to guide me through any conversation, because this is a conversation.
Are they
It's
guiding you
not
through this now?
It's not, what my spirit team is always with me. It's not like I'm sitting here and I have, we all have people around us all the time, but it's not like I'm plugged in and I'm like, what do you want me to say now? Or what's going on over here? It doesn't work that way for me. I'm going to trust that you're going to give me an honest interview from a place of integrity, and I'm going to give you an honest answer from my own place of understanding without being confrontational or trying to debunk something or whatever, wherever you're wanting to go, or I don't believe, just giving me the opportunity to explain it and allowing your listeners to decide for themselves, because it's not for me to tell your listeners I'm right and you're wrong. And it's not for you to tell your listeners that you're right and I'm wrong. It's for your listeners to come to the table and say, you know what, he might be speaking a thread of truth, and I think that woman's full of shit. Or no, right? I mean, you threw the F-bomb at me. So
no, I did.
right?
I did. I'm sorry.
And I work construction. I worked construction for 35 years. So I worked with men my whole entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I mean, I've walked into tents of 500 men and been the only female in there. And, you have to be able to hold your own. And there might be people that say, you know what, I really hear what she's having to say. And maybe, maybe he's just not open-minded enough to hear what she's having to say.
Yeah.
Because the spirit world doesn't come here and say, or God doesn't say, you must believe.
He does, actually.
No, he doesn't. God gave you the free will to discern for yourself what is truth for you. God didn't send you here and say you will only believe in what I say and all of these things, because we choose to believe in those things because we're connected to source.
Well,
but God doesn't force you to believe anything, because he gave you the gift of free will and discernment to understand it for yourself.
it's very clear with Yahweh that he wants us to love him or burn, believe or suffer. I mean, these are his rules. These are his guidelines he put into.
And who made up the rules?
God makes the rules, right?
Right. But who wrote the rules down that we know that
the Holy Spirit through people?
Okay, so right. So why isn't it possible that people of this day and age can communicate that same information? Do you think that God only gave the information to one source of people like Abraham or Moses and said, here, you guys are the only authority figures that I'm going to give this to? Don't you think in this day and age, there needs to be people, because we have different generations of people where they can hear the Holy Spirit or connect to that oneness with God through the voice of other people? I don't believe that God just stopped it with a book and said, this is, he has his commandments, he has his laws, they're laws. But I believe that God also gives information to people in every era and every decade that we live in, because we have grown and we have changed and we have evolved. And so God wouldn't just shut his voice off. I believe that God has picked people like the Catholic priest, for example, who stands at the pulpit and he reads information. There's nothing wrong
children.
with Catholic.
I don't like Catholic priests.
But see, but you're just saying that that's a generalization and saying that about all, that's saying Catholic.
How can you tell which ones are not? Which ones don't diddle kids?
How can you tell? How do you know that other religions don't do the same?
100% they do. Look at the Duggars. You got that disgusting kid who was diddling his sisters. Why? Because I don't know.
But I'm
'cause
just saying,
he's-
but God puts, he's putting a voice into you so that you can say,
Where?
God says this is, you just said, God said this is the law. You're going to either believe
Oh,
me
that's
or
what the
you're going
book
to burn
says.
in hell.
That's what the book says.
Right.
I read the book. That's what it
So,
says.
so then if you read the book, what's the truth for you? What's the truth for you in that? When you say that statement, where's the truth come in for you?
What do you mean by the truth?
What's your truth? You're making a statement. So is that a statement of your truth, of your understanding of how you feel about what you read?
Absolutely. I read this book, and in here several times he talks about hell. If you don't love me, if you don't listen, I'm going to put you in hell. That's in here. Love
Right.
me or be cursed. Those who don't love God be cursed. It's 1 Corinthians. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here that talks about that.
And I
So
love God.
that's-
Without God's divine hand guiding me, this would not be possible, and a possible part of me that would exist.
See, how do you know
Because
his hand, his invisible hand, is
Because-
guiding you?
because I have faith, and faith is an unseen force, and that faith inside of me tells me and helps me to understand it. I'm not
Faith.
here to convey faith is an invisible force. You can't see faith. It's not tangible like this candle or this rock that says Jesus is the
Kind of
rock,
like
right?
make believe.
But you're saying the word of God is written, and you're saying it's true. So somewhere
well,
inside
no.
of you, you believe it because it says God says this, or you're going to burn in hell. So I'm asking you, is that a true statement for you, or do you believe that that's a bunch of hogwash?
I believe it's all a bunch of hogwash, but I know
Okay.
what's inside the book, and I read the book, and the book, it says that who doesn't love or obey goes to hell. And in the Old
Right.
Testament, if you don't love or obey, he just kills your kids.
But I don't believe that we have a vengeful God. I don't
Why
believe
don't you
that.
believe that? It says it all over through the Bible. He's very vengeful.
Well, but
You-
that's what and you just said you don't believe the Bible either. So
no,
why
I
are
don't
you
think the
telling
Bible is
me-
true at all. I think it's just a bunch of
So then why are you telling me
babble.
why I don't believe it? I don't believe it because I know God to be a loving, caring, compassionate.
Why do you believe that?
Because his light flows through me and it flows through other people, and you can see it through acts of kindness in the way that people are and their compassion.
What about the people that are kind and compassionate that don't have your deity? I know lots of people that are kind and compassionate, but they're
They don't
actually
have to-
atheists or Buddhists or
Well, they don't have, you know what, and they don't have to be a medium, or they don't have to communicate with the spirit world. That's not what any of this is about. This is about being our true, authentic self in a world of many, and being brave enough to stand in that light of who you are, regardless of someone else telling you that you are full of it, or you are a liar, or I don't believe you. And you never said that, but
no.
you know what I'm saying? No, you never said, but you know what I'm saying? Or trying to challenge somebody. You know, it's like until
I think we should
all
challenge all kinds of beliefs. If you have a strange belief, I think you should be challenged on it 100%.
I don't think it's a strange belief because it's been with me my whole life. So for me,
You
it's
don't
not
think it's strange.
strange.
You don't think it, but I don't see ghosts. I don't communicate with people who are on the other side of the spirit world. I don't. And I don't know anybody that does. You're actually the first person I ever met that does this. So yay. Write
yay,
that off
but
the
you-
bucket list. But seriously,
know
though,
what, though?
it's-
But seriously, people can communicate with those who have crossed over. People can communicate with the spirit world to access information that will serve a person's greatest good and highest joy, because the spirit world does this as a way to propel and move people forward, give them validation on their path, help them to recognize their own truth. Yeah, are there phonies out there? 100%. Are there people who are liars? 100%. Are there people out
Chloe.
there? But right, Miss Cleo, let's get it
Cleo,
right.
that's
Are there people out there that are just sitting there yanking your chain and are I can't remember, grief vampires? Absolutely. That's why for me, it's not just about those who have crossed over. It's about the essence of the soul who sits before me, and to serve their greatest good and highest joy on this path now.
Well, that's helpful, but it's when you bring in that invisible and I want to go back to faith too. Because faith
Even if I told you something, or I tell you a story and I've told you these stories, they don't mean anything to you because they're not personal to you. So because they're right. But two, you have to be honest on the other side, because I've had people challenge me. I've had people on a job site say, I don't believe anything that you said to me. I don't believe anything about you. I want you to prove it to me. And I would say, okay, I'll meet you after after break and I'll have a conversation with you. So I
Mhm.
sat with the gentleman and I told him all the things that the spirit world had showed me about a life of a spirit, a man that was in spirit, that he knew as a teenager,
Mhm.
and that was a part of his life and showed me an impression of his life. So the whole time he told me, nope, 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 not true, not true, not true. And I said, I don't care what you say. I know that this is true. So he said to me, I went back over here to my own side of the table. And the next day he called me over and he said, I have to apologize to you
Mm.
because everything you told me was the truth. And I said, well, why did you tell me that it wasn't? He said, because I wanted to throw you off your game. And I said, well, this isn't a game for me. He goes, well, I want you to tell me something that will benefit my life now. I said, you asked me to prove spirit to you. And that's exactly what I did. What you did with it in that moment was up to you. And then I excused myself and said, if you want to sit for a reading with me, then you can contact me and you can make an appointment. But from that moment on, I left him with that truth. And he even admitted that he knew who the spirit person was that was communicating information. But in that moment, in front of attentive men, he wanted to make me look like I was a fraud or a phony or a fake because it was what he wanted to do. But I stay in my true authentic self. And even if you tell me no, and I know that it's yes, it doesn't mean it's not going to serve anybody for us to argue about it.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's
You
very
know,
interesting.
to be-
I wasn't
I
there. I
would-
can't validate any of that, but I mean, you mic dropped and you walked away. It's pretty funny. But can we do it here? Are you able to do it with me? Is that something we can do over here? Because I'm very curious how this works.
The thing is that you have to be, you have to allow yourself to be open to the experience. You have to allow yourself
100%.
to be open, because one thing that I do know as I sit here with you, that, your mind, you're more of a left brain person, and you're more of I would say you're
I use
more
my whole brain.
scientific. Well, but you're more, we might use our whole brain, but sometimes some of us move through life more left brain than we do right brained, or people don't know how to find the balance in it. So for you're like you said, and this is just because of just sitting with you, knowing this says this, or this says that, and this says that, and this says that. So you're like one of those people that has to be black and white. The gray area for you is something that you're not willing to dive into or even kind of explore that it might be truthful, because it's not written out in black and white. Everything
I explore all kinds of gray areas. I do. I don't trust gray areas as much as I trust the black and whites, because that is more
and who says that the black and white? And so
you know
when
what I
people
mean? Structure.
And when people, you have to remember too, when people put things in black and white, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's truth. It just means that this black and white information has been around for a long time.
I'm so confused on where we're going right now.
You asked me to communicate or give you some information.
I will be honest. I will be honest. Let's do this. I'm ready. Let's talk to some spirit people. I want to know.
And you know what? I want to know. Okay. Okay. I know that one thing that they tell me that I want to talk about your popularity. So this is
okay.
this is kind of where they're bringing me, right? And so for you, you've built a show. I didn't do any research on you.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about you. I only heard today before I got on, and I went and you were talking to some lady about a book that she wrote. And that was the only thing I heard.
That's a lot of podcasts.
She was it would have been your last one up. It would have been, and she was a famous lady. I don't even know who she was. She's supposedly somebody famous. So did you just put a podcast up just yesterday?
Just recently,
yeah. And so it was from somebody that is well known or whatever. So your audience, they're saying, is diverse, but I also feel that I have when they go like this to me, I feel like I have a lot of tentacles out there. So I feel that you have a pretty far reach, and they're going but you might
I have a very small little niche.
But you might think it's a small niche, but it might not be, just because it's not, Rush Limbaugh like.
Well, I see the downloads. That's kind of the evidence.
But still, your reach, you want your reach. You see, it's like, well, it doesn't, because it's only here. It doesn't matter. It's the people that you reach, and the message gets carried beyond just who's tuning into your podcast. So you have to understand that once information is getting out there, it's getting out there beyond just the podcast.
That's anybody's podcast, but go ahead. Yeah.
but no matter what I say, you'll always find the debunking thing, because
Well,
that's
it is. I mean, you can be
but
talking
that-
about anybody's
but wait,
podcast when you say that.
but
But go ahead.
I'm not. I'm really talking to you. But see, that's the thing here. If you want to go back and forth and it becomes a tit for tat, then it doesn't serve anybody, because when you just want to believe one thing, no matter if I say something to you, you're going to push it to the side because it's not black and white.
If it doesn't make sense, I'm gonna have to, Patricia. I'm sorry, it's how it works.
Oh no. Well, I'm just letting you know, this
Yeah.
is how the spirit world works. The spirit world talks to us in ways for us to understand on a level of truth. And so this is the truth that they're giving to me. So again,
my reach. Go ahead.
I didn't come here to prove myself or to have anybody come in and try to debunk me or make me look like I'm some kind of a fraud or any of those things, because to me, what's the point? I mean, either people are going to believe or they're not,
Right.
or
they're either going to believe it or not, and no matter what I say.
Or they're going to, research me for themselves,
Mhm.
and they're going to go and see and read about the people whose lives I've touched, or they're not. So depending on what the audience is out there, that's the way that it's going to go. But again, I don't want to come here for it to be, that you came here to bring me on to debunk me, because, I just wanted to talk, it doesn't matter what I say. No matter what I say, you'll say no to a lot of things. And so what is the point? If you're not really willing to give, because I feel like to get you to give might be more difficult through this genre than if we were
reasoning. Yeah, for sure. Dude, give me something that's reasonable and we will go there.
The reach. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, but it doesn't.
There.
It doesn't matter what's reasonable, because I've given you reasonable things and I've told you stories, and you're like,
stories are different though. Those are your very subjective stories. I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of it. I don't have a video. So I mean, they're different. They're not convincing. I'm not convinced by a story 100%. And we're about to have the spiritual world talk to me or about me, which might convince me or not. So far, it hasn't. I'm not really convinced, but we can continue and see where it goes. I'm very curious.
And I know you're curious, and so, and curiosity kills the cat, as they say. So, but it's the curious parts of our minds that are allowing us to tap into something that may not be tangible. For you, if things aren't tangible, I know this to be true, then they can't be true. Just like faith, right? You say faith is not real because it's not tangible. What's hope?
Hope is a wish for something. Wish that something will happen.
Do you pray?
Good or bad? No, I don't pray.
So there's this big disconnect where you really don't believe in source energy or God energy and all of those things. So this for you is more of that heart of that atheist. I don't, I would say you're more scientific. I would say, I grew from
logical.
A piece of grass. Right. But it's not
I don't believe in things I can't see.
Right. And so because you don't believe in things you can't see, no matter what I tell you, if it can't be seen, you won't believe it.
False.
So even if
let's talk about my great grandfather. Maybe he could show up and say a few things. That'd be kind of interesting. I mean, I'm not
and so that this is the way that
channel him or anything, but I mean that would be something that would be interesting for sure.
But so just because we say I want to talk to my great grandpa, maybe your great grandpa doesn't need to talk to you,
right? And no, 100%. But that'd be cool.
And then it's funny too, because for a while now I've been hearing the words mom, 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 mom over to the side. So I want there's something that might need to be addressed with your mother.
I haven't said my mom once, I don't think.
No, you haven't said your mom. I've been hearing the words.
Okay.
I've been hearing, I know you haven't said your mom once.
Gotcha.
But I've been hearing the words mom, 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 mom over here.
I was talking about my great grandfather, actually.
Well, I know you were.
Mom. Yeah. I don't know.
How do you think that? Like I said.
What about my dad? What about my brother? What about my sister? Now there's some stuff right there. Let's talk about. No, I don't want to get into my family. But I mean, if your spirit guides are leading you somewhere, what about my mom? What are we talking about?
But you know what though? But you know what though? I mean, it's just the minute that we want to go somewhere, you pull it back. So for me, it doesn't matter what it's. I can feel the resistance. There's this
questions. Lots of questions.
It's not questions, it's resistance. And
it's
so
questioning. I'm resisting because I have questions and my questions aren't being answered.
And because your questions are being answered, but I'm a strong woman of faith. I have a deep belief in God. I know that my faith and my God serves me in a way that moves me through life. You are the complete opposite of what that is. You are not any of
No,
those
definitely
things.
not.
So, like your podcast says, the Bible says what, you know what I mean? And that's the way that it is. But it doesn't mean that everything in the Bible is not factual. Just because somebody took words and
Fan
they
fiction.
skewed them.
Fan fiction. Bible's fan fiction.
But just because that they skewed words doesn't mean that there's words that aren't written that aren't true.
Right, like fan fiction. Like I said, like some of these kings existed, these people existed, some of them, and some of these events actually happened not the way they said. They just added all the spiritual stuff and the magic.
But how do you know?
Because magic isn't real.
But
that's how I know.
Wait a minute. You're saying that the Bible that was written thousands of years ago before you were born in to this lifetime, that what's written is fake and phony, because how do you know?
Because I live in reality and magic isn't real.
But who says it's magic? Who says it's not real?
I just did.
Right. But you see, that's because that's your belief.
Well, it's a lot of people's belief, actually. A lot of scholars, a lot of scientists, a lot of other atheists out there.
It's this, right. It's the scientist and the atheist and those type of things. And everything's got to be scientific. And I'm growing
not
from,
everything's got to be scientific.
But from the atheist perspective or point of view, it's like the heart part of you is it's not open to really allow the source to move through you, because where does God move through us? He moves through our hearts. Where does faith reside? So that's what I know God to be. What did Jesus say? The kingdom of God is within you. Well,
he also said, I don't come to bring peace, but a sword and division. He also said he's going to throw people in hell with his angel army that don't believe or love in him. There's a lot of things Jesus said, for sure.
Well, there's a lot of things that Jesus said, but there were a lot of things that Jesus said that were given to people in parables, and for each person interpreted them in the way that they can apply them to their own lives.
See, that's not a very good way of teaching.
But no, how is it not? How is it not? So you're saying that everybody should be programmed like a little army, and so then the armies just walk through and there's only one right and one wrong and one way to think?
Wow, no. How'd you get that?
Well, that's because of your statement that you had just said before this.
Which statement brought that upon?
About what Jesus said and
division and all that.
And you said that people, you didn't believe in people having the freedom of thought, the freedom of feeling different ways, that people
I didn't say that. No, people can think whatever they want, for sure. 100%.
But
doesn't mean it's right.
Right. But so but the only way, what makes it right? That everybody thinks the same exact way. Okay, no. Take this for instance, right?
What makes it right is when it's right.
Right, but it's right for you. But how do you know
what specifically we're talking about was right? Because there's a lot of things we can go to from back and forth with what's right and what's wrong, and
you said that you just said what Jesus said isn't right, or you don't
right division coming to bring division and a sword and throw people into hell. I will agree that is not right. And why am I saying that? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Why am I saying that? Because I don't think people deserve to be punished for eternity for lack of belief or love in a deity that doesn't show up, kills a bunch of kids in the Bible, and then wants you to suffer for eternity if you don't love or believe in him. I don't think those are good things. I don't see that as a good thing at all. The slaughter of children, number one, we can both agree, right?
Jesus didn't slaughter children.
Jesus is Yahweh, correct?
Jesus did not slaughter children.
Yahweh, correct?
So who is Yahweh?
Is God and Jesus the same person?
Jesus was the Son of God. So he sent him down in his image. So Jesus was independent individual from God, not God himself. God sent Jesus here to reconnect us to that oneness of source and with love, and to teach us and find the way home, because people were running around, like you said, building calves at the base of a mountain.
So what?
Right.
You want everybody to be the same way and all march in one line.
I don't.
Jesus. No golden calves over here.
Absolutely not. I worked in construction. I absolutely do not. But I'm talking to you from my place of faith, not from my place of human Patty. Human Patty would, be on a job site and lay the F-bomb down and get right down there and stand up for myself and go toe to toe with any man on a job site. You know
Do
what
it,
I'm saying?
Patty. Go, Patty,
Right.
go.
You know what I'm right. But I have my human side, but I also have my deep place of faith, the place that I pray, the place that when I'm feeling like I need an answered prayer or I'm praying for somebody because I see somebody suffering, it's the place that I go because it's the place I know that my voice is heard. And and for you, because you're an atheist and because you don't believe in God, that truth will never resonate for you. So it wouldn't matter. Nothing would really matter because you and I are like, we're two separate barges, right? And
sure.
One barge is coming from China and the other barge is coming from, I don't know,
Nevada.
Germany.
I'm in Nevada.
I know, but you know what I mean? But here we are, right? We're two separate barges, right? But the barges, the cool thing about life is that the thing that I love about life is that nothing in this world, no two people are alike. We're going to be drawn to energy of people who are like us. But I also want to be able to peacefully coexist within a world of many. So when I'm in a situation with somebody who might not believe like I do, I'm not here to judge you or tell you that you need to believe like I do, but I want to be able to do it peacefully and in a way where when we part, we can still be like, you know what? I don't believe in what she says, or I don't believe in what he says, but you know what? That was, he's a good person or she's a good person. We just don't believe the same thing. No, and so no matter, you know what I'm saying? And being so disconnected from source and being that atheist and being that non-believer in things, for you to believe in the spirit world, you'd be hard pressed. Yeah. I have definitely a hard time believing in spirits. Right. And there's a lot of things, there's palms, there's a lot of way. I'm going to give you a little key. And then what you decide to do with it, you can do with it. Do it. For you, because mathematics are important to you. Ooh, and numbers suck at math, actually. But wait. I hate math. But mathematics bring us dates, and mathematics brings us facts. 4 plus 4 equals 8. There is no other way. Okay. So we're going to use it as an example. Instead of saying, oh, I hate mathematics, you're wrong. No, I do. I hate mathematics, though. Right. But mathematics are factual. 2 times 2 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 plus 8 equals 16, right? There's always an end game when it comes to mathematics. But what if there were no humans? Would mathematics still be important? Well, I don't know. I don't know either. I don't know. I don't think so, though. I would say for you, and just explore it. Just think about it. You don't have to go out and do it. Go. What's the key? Give me the key. For you, I think that astrology would be really important for you because it would be able to determine from your place of birth, your time of birth, and your date of birth. It would actually be able to give you accurate numbers of things that are happening within your life. And there, it's funny because I want to say I wasn't always a person that didn't believe in God. Something shifted you away. Yeah, logic and reason, and his but there was kind of shifts me away. But there was a place with you. I don't believe that there was a complete absence of God in your life from the beginning, from when you were younger. They're showing me that there was a change that you made on your own. Yeah, that's what I said. We didn't talk about this. This is just coming up now. We didn't. I said I was in the church earlier. I did. I said I was talking to God and begging for him and all that stuff. But that's beside the point. Go ahead. Well, okay. No, but I didn't hear you say that you were in the church. You said that I asked God stuff and God doesn't show up. And you know what? God's not real because he doesn't show up. Okay. They're telling me that there's this piece of you that was connected to God, and then the disconnect happened. So it wasn't like you were always a person that didn't have faith, or you weren't raised around people that had a disbelief in God. They're saying this was a personal choice of your own. Yes. So astrology, yeah, well, kind of. So astrology, I want to get into that. You said that's my key, and I'm really curious about that. So I've been around a lot of people that believe astrology is real, like the stars actually affect my personality, and I'm very curious. How do stars affect my personality? That is so weird to me. when you were born under certain planetary influences, and they came into
Okay, stop right there. How do planets influence things?
They influence.
They're planets. They're not.
Let me think about
Go
that. The moon. Okay, the moon. You ever notice when? Let's use the moon for an example.
Gravitational.
When the
pull.
moon is. So you don't even give me a chance.
Sorry. Go ahead. I just had this topic discussion with somebody earlier, and they would brought
But you're funny. But you're so ready to debunk everything that you don't even give anybody a chance to speak. But so can you see where you don't give people an opportunity to allow your mind to explore the possibility of something bigger? Have you ever noticed when the moon is full that there's a difference that people, what's going on? Why is it so crazy? What's going on with the traffic right now? What is happening? And you notice that the moon is full, pay attention to it. They're saying, they said, they're funny. They said he needs more than just one moon cycle. So for the next,
what does that even mean?
That
more
means
than
that
one moon cycle?
You need to have proof. That's what that means. That you have to actually come and if you were scientific, and a scientist would say, I'm going to study the influence of the moon, but I can't do it under one. I need to compare it to 3 moon cycles, for example, to be able to discern or decipher if the moon truly affects people here. If it truly affects how?
Yeah, how does the moon affect people?
When the moon is full, people can get a little crazy.
You said that, but how does that affect?
They can get a little nuts. They can get a little because I believe it's the planetary influence of the moon being so full that it pulls at the tides. It's called
gravity.
But see, it doesn't matter what I say. You're
saying that gravity isn't gravity. It's actually the moon's.
No, I'm saying
influence?
that the moon influences the water, and you know it because scientifically you know that's true. But you know that when the moon is full, the tides are different, and you know that's true. Even the shrimpers will tell you there's certain times you can't shrimp because when the moon is full, the shrimp bury themselves.
Right,
so
because
the moon
there's so much light, they're hiding. They're in hiding because there's too much light.
But they're influencing something in the deep blue sea. What makes you think that the moon wouldn't influence a human being? And you're made of water. How much water is the body made out of?
I don't know how much, like 70% or something like that.
Okay, so you're a fact guy. So if we're made of that kind of water, why wouldn't the gravitational pull of the moon affect the human being?
Okay, so it is the gravitational pull.
Yes, it is the gravitational pull.
It's not like this moon spirit or something influencing people.
Yeah, but when it's full, it's more impactful. So just for yourself, just for yourself, you can do yourself. Or when another thing, have you ever noticed that there's times like, why isn't my computer working? Why isn't my phone working? What is going on?
My life.
Okay, so pay attention to those times, and when this is happening, go and see what Mercury's doing. Because if Mercury is in retrograde, if Mercury's in retrograde and moving backward in the heavens, it will affect communications, computers, telecommunications, all types of things. So these are, you asked me, and I'm giving.
I know, but like every day I have an issue with a cell phone or my computer, or just yesterday I couldn't log into the computer at work. It was so frustrating. I don't think it had anything to do with Mercury though, or where its position was, because not everybody has the issues at the same time. I mean,
we don't know where Mercury's also sitting in your chart. That's why I said for you to get your astrology chart done, it would give you a lot of answers and understanding of where you come from and why you have this disconnect or this disbelief with source or the God of your understanding or the God of other people's understanding, and why you have an issue with how can somebody believe in God or how can somebody believe in spirit.
I have an issue with it because I grew up with it, and I've seen the damage that it causes. I've seen what it can do. I've seen what it does to our society. 100%. That's why. Well, not because of a moon or a Mercury or nothing. No.
But did you ever think that? Did you ever think that the benefits of what people might have taken away from church? It taught them how to pray. It taught them how to connect. It taught people how to believe in something that can't be seen but know it to be true within them. It's not make believe.
I could click my heels and There's no place like home. There's no place like home. I have faith that I'm going to click my heels and I'm going to go home, but it doesn't actually happen.
I'm going to send you a pair of ruby slippers, Dorothy. I'm going to send you a pair of ruby slippers, and then I'm going to hope that the big house doesn't fall on you and your legs don't shrivel up and go under. Right? You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter no matter what. You really are very structured in your mind, and you went from one way of being, and a personal choice took you in another direction. But it didn't happen because it was wrong. It happened because you have something to learn from it on a soul level. So none of what you say or believe or feel is wrong. None of what I say or feel or believe is wrong either. We just happen to be two different kind of barges going in different directions in the ocean. And we move towards those who are of like energy. If you were to sit in a room or in a hall filled with people who are atheists, you'd have endless conversation because you would all believe the same thing.
I don't like all atheists. That do not
well, I don't like all
Christians. I don't like all people, for sure. But, just because they believe something strange doesn't mean I can't be friends with them. I have friends that believe crazy things, but we're still friends. We can still carry on a conversation about other things, like, I don't know, Ninja Turtles. I mean, there's going to be a correlation between one of
Ninja Turtles are made up. Ninja Turtles are fantasy.
They are fictional characters, 100%. I'm not going to go to New York and start searching the sewers for Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't go chasing them around or whatever that stupid game is on your phone to go find them in Central Park.
Pokemon, isn't it?
See, I wouldn't know, but you do. You do. See?
Yeah, because I am a dork. I love that kind of stuff.
Right,
for sure. That's my world.
And so just think about it. What did God give us our imagination for? He gave us our imagination to reach into places that we love so that we could explore those things. That's your world. That's what you love. And, and you have the free will to visit it. But I'm telling you, just from my own,
though. At the end of the day, that world is still make believe.
My world is not make believe. What I do is not make believe. I know it to be true because I've had thousands of people sit before me and have but I'm saying but for me, I've had people sit before me and break down in tears and cry. Okay, I'll give you another example.
Same here.
Okay?
People, the story totally convinced me though. I want to get into
here's
prayer.
A story. Okay,
I want to get into
let's
prayer.
do it. Okay,
you keep bringing up prayer.
Okay, go ahead. Prayer.
I want to know when we pray, does your God already know what the prayer is going to be?
He's our God, but okay. You know what? Want to know the secret to prayer? Well, okay. You know what the secret to prayer is?
What is the secret?
When we pray, when people pray, they tend to pray for, maybe they're praying for someone else, but they're trying to pray for something for themselves. Like, especially people with children. Oh my God, my son is suffering. Let's use this for example. My son is suffering. Please, God, bring my son
for the kid,
back
not for
to
the
me.
Person.
Right, but this is the way that they're praying. Please bring my son back to me. Oh my God, I can't live without him. I just want him to do well again. I want him to be healthy. Please help him to stop, for example, using drugs. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Please, God, listen to me. God, aren't you hearing me? God, don't you hear me, God? Right? So the whole time the person is praying because they want their son to come back to them, and the intent isn't. The intent is based on what's going to give them peace because they don't want to lose their son. What am I going to do? God, you have to intercede. Instead of praying for God, please, go to my son and allow him to hear the wisdom of his own soul to bubble to the surface so that he can overcome this, overcome his addiction. We'll use addiction, for example, overcome his addiction so that he can, live a fulfilling life that he's capable of, and whatever. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen. Right. And so the way that people pray is the secret.
What good does that prayer do? Like if you already knows.
When we pray for somebody else, we elevate their soul. It doesn't matter what God knows, because here, when we're praying, if I pray for you, I'm sending you energy to use as you choose. And whether your free will wants it or not, your soul is open to it or not, that's for you to decide. But I don't pray and say that you must take my words and this prayer must do this for you or it must do that. I send you an intent with with your well-being and your highest good in the prayer, so that your soul is elevated to where, wherever if I knew you personally, wherever I would see that, I would think that you need to overcome. So if you were sick, please, let the cancer pass. And you know what I mean? When we pray for somebody, it's how we pray for them. Do we pray for them because we're praying for their greatest good and highest joy? Or are we putting ourselves in the midst, and we want God to answer the prayer for us. That's why people say, God never answers my prayer. God doesn't hear me.
Not
I
true.
don't believe in God.
So,
How could God do this?
I've talked to several people who have
That's
prayed
true.
for their kids to survive, not just for their well-being, but for the child's well-being.
That's the secret to prayer. You pray for the
But it doesn't work.
well-being.
And Yahweh still allows that child to suffer and die. Yahweh
Why do
knew
you
this
call
was
him
going to happen.
Yahweh?
That's his name. It's what
Why
he
do
calls
you
himself.
call him Yahweh?
That's what he calls himself in the Bible.
That?
That's what he calls himself in the Bible. He calls himself lots of names, and one of the names is Yahweh.
Well,
So-
why do you like that? You really like that name.
It's just the
You
name
really-
I picked out of the many names that he's
I love
given
it.
himself.
Put up
Oh my
all the
goodness.
names you love that one. You love
Why?
that one.
Why
And
does it
so
matter?
what is Yahweh connected to? Where, what is it that it just for me,
Mhm.
I just call God because that's what I know God in the Bible. I don't know him
There's
as
lots of gods, and they all have different names. This God has given himself
one
the name
God.
of Yahweh.
Multiple people believe in him in different ways. One God, one source of light. He feeds everybody, gets fed from the same source of light, but we all believe in him the way that we see him. That's the beauty of God. I see God
Your
the way
God.
God. Everyone's God.
You have
The
one
one
God.
God.
The guy
There's
down the
one.
street is a different God.
There's one living God, and guess what? You see him as you see him as my God, or you see him as the God on the street for the Hare Krishna on the corner, or you see him as the God over there in the Jewish temple. But there's one source of light that feeds all of these beliefs of God. That's the cool thing about God, or even feeding the source of non-belief. God is still very present. We just have to allow him to reveal himself to us. If you want to, but you don't have to.
He never did. He still hasn't. And I've had lots of people pray and send their energies towards me, and nothing has happened.
Okay, I'm
So,
going to read you something.
go ahead.
God cannot, man cannot intercede. Hold on for a second. I'm going to read it to you exactly.
Man cannot
as it's
intercede in
written.
God's will.
Hold on one second.
So
Give
what's
me
the point in prayer?
God can only intercede where man will allow.
Okay, so what's the point
So
in
he
prayer?
can't intercede if you won't allow him to. You have the free will to say, I'm not letting God, I don't believe in God, or I'm not letting no Yahweh into my life.
Here we are.
There's no-
Yahweh, come into my life. Yahweh, show yourself, prove yourself right now.
Yeah, but it's like, prove yourself.
Right now.
What is the proof that you need?
Prove that you want to have a
What-
relationship with me. I keep hearing
Why
Christians tell me
don't
that
you-
just God wants to have a relationship with me, but he won't show
You're
up.
not going to hear that.
How
You're
can
not
that
going to hear that
happen?
from me.
Does he
You're
want
not
to have a
gonna hear that.
relationship with me? You don't think he
You're
wants
not
to have a
gonna hear that from-
relationship with me?
Yes, he does.
Okay,
But
well,
you're
then you
not going
just
to
said
hear
it.
that from me.
Well,
No, I didn't
just-
say. I didn't say God only comes because he wants to have a relationship.
No, I didn't
with
say
you.
that either.
But you said that all Christians say
A
is
lot
that
of
God
Christians.
wants to have a relationship with you.
Yes, and you just said that.
The kingdom of God resides within you. So allowing the God source light to ignite itself within you is when God will present himself to you. So you have to put down the barriers and just allow it to present itself.
There's a
And it
kingdom
might not-
inside of me.
Yes. The
How
kingdom
does
of God
that
is inside
work?
of everyone.
The kingdom,
kingdom
of
of-
God is inside of me.
The kingdom
Please,
of God
please
is inside
explain.
of
Please
everyone.
explain. I love this.
I know you do, because you think that it's silly.
It
but the
will.
king-
Jesus living in my heart and knocking on a door is also silly. But there's a kingdom inside of me. Is
But
is
you
a
know
whole nother
what, though?
level. How does that work?
I don't walk around on the street and preach to people. I don't do, I only came on here to talk about this because this is what we came to talk about today. And that's
Absolutely.
okay,
I want to
right?
know what you believe and why you believe and how it makes sense. That's
But
why we're here.
I don't go on the street and say Jesus is going to save you,
Okay.
or God, you must believe in God, or I just become the beacon of light before you, so that helps to amplify the light within you. So I share the God light within me to help amplify the light within you. And if you resonate with it, you'll feel that I want some of that, or I want to feel like that, or what does
Yeah.
that person have that I don't have? And so when you see somebody and you're like, what does that person have that I don't have, that they think that God is inside of them and the kingdom of heaven is inside of them,
Weird,
and why
yeah.
don't I have it? But if you allow that person to allow you to, that you can see and peek into their light, it just might activate that little tiny, it's funny because it's funny. And this isn't an insult or anything, but the way that they're showing the light inside of you is almost like, remember the Grinch's heart? It was tiny and it was in a little box, and then his heart grew and it right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so just to activate that little tiny light so that you can get movement in there, just a little bit of movement to allow yourself to feel something different without being so.
And how do you do that? Do you
You
pretend?
let
Do
go.
you pretend it's real?
No, you let go of whatever hurt you in the past, whatever made you
Oh my God,
disconnect
that's a
from
list.
source.
I'm sure you got a list of things that have hurt you in the past. I mean, we can go
Well-
from the corner
how
of
do
the
you-
coffee table to
how do you
exes to family members. Who, I mean,
How do you let it go? You have to let it. You have
you
to
just move
actually-
on, man. You move on with your life. You don't think it's not that important. You have better things to do. You have a whole future ahead of you. I got
Here,
my
I'm gonna
kids,
read-
I got my
I'm
wife, I
gonna-
got other things to be more important than
I'm gonna-
somebody that hurt me in the past. Go ahead.
I'm just going to read you something. Just
Go ahead.
humor me for a
Go
minute, okay? God
Absolutely.
cannot intercede where man will not allow. There is so much power in prayer, yet know that God cannot intercede where men will not
Then
allow.
how is there power in prayer?
It is the free will of those fighting that interferes with his divine hand reaching in to change the actions of those who
What a-
cannot see beyond the illusion of the cause. You
So
see, God
weak.
it's weak. God gave to each of you free will to use as you choose. It is a gift afforded to each soul that is born to this world. When people decide to lay down their own swords, it is then that peace will overcome this nation. So it's, instead of everybody fighting with one another or saying, you have to believe in God, or you don't believe in God, or you're right, I'm wrong, there's no such thing. We can, lay down the hilt, put it down, let the sword go so that we can find peace among ourselves. Because once we find peace among ourselves and a mutual understanding, we can allow ourselves to change. So when we resist change, the more we resist change, the more we stand in that, you're wrong, I'm right. That's not true. This is a fantasy. All of those things. We have to lay that stuff down and allow ourselves the opportunity to peacefully coexist within a world of many and understand that our free will, your free will, is why you are where you are today. It's your free will not to believe in God. It was your free will that took you in a different direction because of whatever the church or the beliefs or those systems did to you, that you moved away from it. It was through your own hand and your own desire and your own soul's desire for growth that you moved in the direction that you did. And it's okay. It doesn't make you right and me wrong, or me right and you wrong. It just makes us both in that perfect place of our own life.
Our own ships sailing away from each other.
It's true, but God cannot. If you don't allow God in, He's not going to be able to access. It doesn't matter.
I tried.
But every
He didn't
time
come in.
But when you say but you act like you. This is funny. It's like you want to like strike lightning down and be like,
I want him to
I'm
show up.
I'm gonna. How do you know he hasn't?
Because I haven't seen him and I'm not convinced. He knows what will convince me, and he has yet to do it. He has yet to convince me.
But God isn't here to prove anything to you.
Absolutely, he is.
No, he's not.
You said he wants to have a relationship with me.
But he's not real. So
no, he's not. But you said he wants to have a relationship with me.
I said that the kingdom of God is inside of you, but
and
I don't.
You said he wants to have a relationship with me.
But you say everybody says that. But you know what?
I say a lot of people say that.
God wants to have a relationship with anybody who's willing to have a relationship with him. If you don't want to have
he didn't want to have one with me because he never showed up.
But how do you know?
Because I was there and he never showed up.
But okay.
I mean, how else am I supposed to know? How else am I supposed to know? He's gonna send me little tingly feelings. Hey, this is me. Tingle, 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 tingle.
Have
like
you ever
Spider-Man tingles and stuff?
Have
that
you
doesn't
ever
make any sense?
Have you ever given anybody in your life a second chance?
Have I? Yes, of course. I gave Yahweh tons of chances for years, man.
Well, why do you?
Years.
Okay. The funny thing is, can you tell me one thing? Why do you like to call God Yahweh and not God?
I just said that because he calls himself so many different names in here, and that's the one I picked out of it. I picked Yahweh instead of El Shaddai or all the other ones he decides to call himself. Yahweh is a name. I can call him by that as opposed to just God, because that can mean so many different gods. You know how many gods there are?
Do you know that God or Jesus or anybody that we call upon is going to appear to us in a way that we can recognize and understand him? So it doesn't mean that
it hasn't
God,
happened.
But you have to give it a chance.
I did for years. What else does he want me to do? What else did he want me to do? I gave him years of my life. Worship, praise, honor, respect, belief, and nothing. I got nothing but little Peter tingles, little Michael tingles, whatever you want to call them. That's it. That's all I got. That's all you get. A little. That's what you get. He never shows up. He never does anything.
Did you come back here for someone else to live your life, or did you come back here to live your life for you? Are you here to live your life, or are you here to have somebody else live your life?
I'm living my life. I don't know how else I would live.
So then you're saying, I want God to show up, and I want God to do this, and I want God to do that.
At one point in my life,
so
but he never did.
So were you looking for God to live your life for you?
No, I was looking for him to show up and prove himself. Actually, be existent.
But you're like asking for, God, if you're here, strike down a tree, or God, if you're here.
It worked for Gideon. Why doesn't it work for me? It worked for all kinds of people to ask, where's God? God, show yourself. God, prove yourself. And guess what? He showed up.
Did you know that he did it because he was proving it to the masses? It wasn't just individually. He shows up for all of us, but we have to be open to recognize that. And if you're not open to recognize it, you say you haven't seen it, but you'll see. But when
I'll see. Okay.
But when God shows up in the Bible like he did, he showed up because he wanted to prove that he was there, because the mass of people needed to see it.
They still do today.
You're absolutely right.
So where is
he? He's here.
I still haven't seen him or felt his presence besides a tingly feeling, which I can get by watching a movie that makes you like excited.
How many, in the last 20 plus years, I would say there's been such a disconnect and a pull away from God, and where people were taught that God was not existent, that's become the reality of this world.
I was never taught it, actually.
You might not have been taught it, but that's what's happening. And when you say that he needs to show himself, I absolutely agree that we need something, something needs to happen, or, and so my faith and my belief, it's not like, it's like, God, Michael needs to see something, so we need a mass scale thing. You know what I mean?
Let's do it. Ask him. But you have better communication. Let's do it.
Let's ask him. Okay. You know what? Okay. You're funny, because I used to be on a job site, and Aaron would go, I'm tired of getting caught by the train. And I said, listen, guys, Aaron needs to get home on time, no train, no delays, no traffic. So what is Aaron doing? And we get hours of traffic coming out of Indiana, hours. He goes, I know you're going to say this, not true. I know, but you know what? I'm
believing stories, man. I wasn't there. And
we left every day at the same time, and every day we get the same traffic because the trains came at the same time every day. He didn't get one train, not one big traffic. And I told him, wait. And I told him, watch out at 4:00, because at 4:00 you're going to see a cop, and if you don't watch your speed, you're going to get a ticket. Stop. See, he's driving down the road, because he came back. He came back and told me he's driving down the road. He looked at his clock. It said 3:59. He slowed his car down, and as soon as it hit the 4:00 hour, there was a cop sitting on the side of the road. Now, I don't go home the way Aaron went home. Mm-hmm. So these are things that he came back and told me. So he would say to me, Patty, I need this to happen. I said, well, ask. And he goes, it works better when you ask. It's like your sandwich tastes better when you make it.
It does, actually. It does.
You have to, I'm telling you, I'm only telling you this story because if we don't ask and believe it for ourselves, it's not going to happen, because we are disconnected from that truth. So we've manifested things not happening because we don't believe that they're going to happen. You're out of alignment with your mind and your heart and your feelings. And so when you're out of alignment with your mind, I want something to happen in my mind, but I really don't believe it in my feelings. And my heart says, F you, God, because you don't exist. So get out of my heart, because you don't exist in my kingdom. And then when you want stuff, when you want stuff, you're not manifesting it because you're out of alignment with the destination, because you don't believe it in your heart and you don't feel it in your feelings. You don't believe it. So when you don't believe it, how is God supposed to show himself to you?
So are you saying that I didn't believe it for all these years?
I'm not saying you didn't believe it for all these years, but I don't know what the circumstances were that led you to this place of, and I don't even want to use this word. Why are you making me use this word of cynicism? Because you're kind of, the cynical, you know what I mean? I don't know what led you here, but if you can take it, and they're going 15. So I want to go back 15 years with you. So it's almost like you have to go do a revisit of 15 years. Where were you at 15 years ago that has led you to this place today where your heart is closed off to any influence?
It was farther than that. A lot
But they're
farther than
giving
that.
me, there's something significant about the 15 years and when they
I
give
don't
me
know.
numbers, all you have to do, this is what I tell people, stick it in your pocket and save it for later. Write it down because you're
15
not,
years. I'm writing it down. 15
no, but
years.
I'm
Something
serious.
happened to me 15 years ago.
Wait a minute, hold on for a second. See,
Lots
and
of things.
you just,
I don't know.
and so you want to make fun of it. And you asked me
I
to give
just-
you some information. Wait a minute now.
A
Hold
number's
on.
kind of vague,
So
though. Go ahead.
it's not vague. It's not vague because
How is a
significant.
random number
It's
15 years ago not
It's
vague?
significant for you.
It's,
It's significant for you. It's this. And so it doesn't mean that
I
you're going to
don't see it,
remember it in
though.
this.
yeah.
So all you have to do is sit with it and allow it to present itself to you to see where you were 15 years ago, because they're bringing me back 15 years for you. And so when they bring me back in time, that means that they want you to revisit it. And you can believe it or not. And you can say, oh, that's
Yeah, I don't
vague.
know.
Because no matter what I say, you're always going to say I'm vague. So
Not
it doesn't
really.
matter.
Not really.
I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna try to prove myself to you, because then I'm sitting here and I'm going against my belief, my ethics, my foundation to try to prove something to you that is never going to be proved within your own heart. And until you allow your heart to be open to something different, because you are so black and white and you don't trust the gray areas. Because I gave you a gray area to explore, but you don't want to explore it. You're just going to poo-poo it and shove it to the
I did,
side.
and I
And
poo-pooed
that's
it because
okay.
it didn't make sense. When the
That's
gray
and that's
areas don't
okay.
make sense, I poo-poo them because they don't make sense.
That
I mean,
because and then
I'm sure you
when
do
we're
as well,
given-
right?
no, when we're given a gray area, we're asked to explore
No.
it.
We
We're
explore
asked
it,
to
and when we find
explore
out
it.
it's poo-poo, we get rid of it.
But you didn't even give yourself a chance to go off after we're done with this conversation and see and visit
15
it and
years.
say what's going on. Just
I'm gonna
you know what?
think about it. I'm gonna give you honestly. I will think about whatever happened 15 years ago. I know where I was 15 years ago, but I can't think of anything that was extraordinary or
And
out of
that's
the blue.
but that's okay, because there was some kind of a shift. They're taking me back 15 years for you.
Mm-hmm.
When they give me numbers, one thing for me, the way the spirit world works with me, they give me numbers, they give me dates, and they give me ages. And that's their validation and information to help the person who sits before me. And this is what I always tell people. What you decide to do with the information is completely up to you. I can't make you do anything with the information, but when they give it to me and you've asked for it, then it's my job to give you what I hear.
And I did ask
And
for it,
I'm
100%.
not.
I did ask for it. I'm asking.
You did.
Have you ever been wrong?
You know what? Have I ever been wrong? Any medium, nobody's 100% accurate about anything.
Well, how was
I'm
that?
a
You're being
filter.
talked to by the spirit world. Are the spirits lying to you, or are you
now,
just getting the wrong message?
But you're being a little cynical.
Absolutely. Are the
we
spirits
all
lying to you, or did you get the wrong message?
Absolutely not. The spirits are not lying to me. My information's pretty accurate. Can't give you I won't put a number on my accuracy, but I have people that will send me emails. I sat with you 3 years ago and everything that you told me came true.
Right. But I want to know if you've ever been
sat
wrong.
with you 6 years ago.
Have you been wrong before?
No
on
one,
predictions
you
or
know what?
whatever?
No one's ever come to me and said you were wrong.
So you're
But
100%
there
right.
have been people. There were people. I give you the information, and what you decide to do with it, you do with it. The circumstances and the energy around people change all the time. So whatever information comes out at the time of the sitting is valid to where the energy is at during that moment. So what you take
But these
the
people
information and you.
these spirit people
You-
have information for
you
the
know
future,
what?
right?
Oh, I get future information.
Okay, so if they have the knowledge of the future, they should know that the future is going to change if they give you that word at that time, knowing that it's not going to be the same a week from now. So that's kind of weird to me.
I've given people accurate to 28 days accuracy. So it's not, I'm not here again. I'm not here to do tit for tat or try to prove something to you that you're going to say can't be proven.
I'm curious,
so
and I want to know
point?
how it works. You're not trying to prove it to me. You're just trying to explain it
I
to me
told-
because it's so
I-
confusing to me.
I explained it to you already because it was the only way you could understand. Like a cell phone, it's a frequency. And what happens is
that's
a
a cool
medium,
explanation.
the medium's frequency opens up and the spirit world, and we meet in the middle and communication happens. Now, I've sat with my gift for a long time, so my communication is well developed because I sit in the seat and I'm dedicated to my love of the work. And so I've built a rapport with my spirit team and my guides and teachers and God and Jesus and all of them. And so they communicate information to me. You know, everybody's at different stages and levels of where they might come through with the reading. So if you sat with somebody else, maybe somebody was only doing it for a year, their information might might be a little different if they haven't worked with being more accurate in the details that they give. I mean, I could give you story after story, and you'll still tell me it doesn't matter. I mean, Give
me stories about me. Tell me something that would convince me. A story about somebody else isn't going to be very convincing. It doesn't matter.
I'm still giving you little things, and you just don't. That's too big. No, and so you cut me off.
They don't make sense. Astrology, I can't stand astrology. It's a bunch of woo, and then 15 years. I don't know. Nothing extraordinary happened 15 years ago. Nothing extraordinary happened 20 years ago. You know,
that wasn't the only thing I gave you. You've cut me off at every time I've said something to you. Instead of allowing the spirit people to continue and explain it to you, you've completely cut me off. So no matter what I say, you cut me at the quick, and you don't give me an opportunity to complete the information. It's not like the spirit world calls me up and says, "Hey, Patty, tell Michael, he shouldn't wear that. He shouldn't wear that shirt, and go get a different shirt." Oh, bye, Patty.
I wear this shirt everywhere. Why don't they communicate with me? Why do they communicate with you?
And you wear that shirt everywhere because you want people to.
It's my show, and I try and promote it.
Exactly. And you want, and your popularity and your status is important to you. And so your shirt and your marketing weight is important to you. Yes, it is.
My status is 100% not important to me. You don't know me at all.
You wouldn't be doing it. No, you wouldn't be doing it. You'll see.
I want to get my show out there so people can question their beliefs, so they can understand a little bit more from a different point of view. That's why my shirt is out there. My shirt is out there because people believe this thing to be 100% true.
I don't.
When it's full of poo-poo, as you've mentioned. I don't believe it. And I want other people to challenge their beliefs and question what they think. That's why I wear this shirt. That's why I do this show. Doesn't make any sense to me about popularity. I hate popularity. I think it's ridiculous. I don't want to be a popular person. I'd rather just be a small little fringe or something. I'm not big on popularity 100%.
But you want your show to grow. If that's an untrue statement, because if you want your show to grow, wait. You want to
only reach 2 people. I've told my wife this since the beginning. If you're going to say something wrong, I'm going to have to correct you. That's where it goes. So my wife, from the very beginning, I've told my wife, even if I reach 2 people and one person starts to think, that's it. I don't care.
But you know what though? But you want them to think what you want them to think. You poo-poo. But you've poo-pooed everything I said. You say everything I say is a fantasy. You say everything I say is a ninja turtle. So you compare everything that I say in my belief system and
with reality.
My deep. But that's like saying that I believe in
with
ninja
the reality
turtles.
We all live in.
Like I have a big ninja turtle thing, and I got my thing, and I go out and I battle with my ninja. You're just basically saying if I'm not a ninja turtle, then I'm not right. And that's not right. That's not right.
I want things to make sense, and it doesn't make sense to me.
But it doesn't make sense because you're not open to. You want other people to be open to a different point of view or perspective, but you're not. So how can that be?
Because I don't believe it. I haven't seen anything convincing. Nothing has convinced me. I'm not just going to pretend it's real, like using faith. I'm not going to pretend. I don't think it's real, so I can't pretend. I'm not going to.
I can't pretend, and I can't sit here and not defend my belief.
For you, it's 100% real, but it just doesn't make sense to me, and that's why we're here, and that's why we have this conversation.
But for you, no belief in God and that God Yahweh doesn't exist is real for you. That's real for you, and you're not going to let anybody.
That would make it not real for me. Like same with Zeus and Santa Claus and Ninja Turtles. I don't think they're real. That's a lack of belief.
A Ninja Turtle and God are, to me, 2 completely different things. We have a Ninja Turtle, a made-up thing that somebody.
Ninja Turtles save people. Yahweh slaughters them.
No, see, and so that's kind of, and so, but I don't know what book or Bible you've read.
Do you think the flood happened?
Do I think the flood happened? I believe that things in the Bible have happened and occurred.
Do you think the flood happened?
Well, I think there were 2
Do you
floods.
think Yahweh drowned the entire planet at one point in time?
Oh, with the ark? Do I?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that would be slaughtering people.
But everybody did, because they pulled away from God and they disconnected from source.
Because they didn't listen to him. He did things he didn't like, so he regretted.
Yeah, but he said he would know. He saved people so that they could read that. And he said he would never ever do it again.
He's going to do fire next time. Yeah, he's not going to flood the earth.
He's not going to do fire. You know who's going to do the fire? man, because man is so
No.
full of their own ego. Yes, they
We need
are.
to read the Bible
Who-
together at one point.
Man,
Because in there,
wait.
it clearly says that Yahweh's bringing the fire. Jesus is bringing the vengeful angels. that are gonna
Man
throw people in
has
hell.
destroyed earth, and man has destroyed things, and it's because of man's hand why we find ourselves where we're at today, because the disconnection from source and the
What a weak-
disconnection from God.
What a weak
is
God. He can't
huge.
help anybody out.
He
He
is-
just lets
God
man
is-
destroy everything. And he
God
lets
is-
Satan
because
run
he gave-
free.
Because he gave you free will to
Did he give s-
decide for yourself. Free will. Again,
Not
free
everybody
will.
gets free will, though, Patricia.
everybody got free
The
will.
Pharaoh doesn't get
Everybody.
free will. He hardened his heart.
Everybody.
No.
Everybody has free will. Pharaoh hardened his heart due to
No.
the free will and by his own choice, by his own decision.
His own
just like-
choice was to let the slaves go free and worship their deity, and then Yahweh made his heart hard, refusing to let them go.
You crack me up when you say. You just make me laugh when you say Yahweh, and I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it makes me laugh because
I love that you love it, because I love saying Yahweh because he's
I
got a
do-
name. He needs a name.
Well, you know what, and for you to believe in God, you believe he has to have a name. So
I gotta call
you
him
want to
something.
I mean, why can't you call him God?
I just explained that. Because there's so many different gods, we can't just pinpoint one. We have to give them a name so we can, like Zeus. Okay, now I'm talking about that god.
Zeus
Or I'm
is
talking
not
about
a
Baal.
god
Okay,
of-
now I'm talking about that god. I'm talking
Zeus
about
is
these different gods, and
Zeus
I'm
is
giving
not
them
the one living-
names.
Zeus is not the one living God. Zeus is
Neither is
not.
Yahweh. But we can end it on that.
Yes.
We're just gonna disagree.
Anyway.
I love it. Thank you so much for
I-
this. Where do we find your stuff? Where can we learn more about you and your book?
Okay. You can learn, go to innereyeconnections.com, INNERE.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
INNEREYE,
Inner.
the word connections.com will take you to my website. You can find out all about me. My book, I Am the Light, is there. If you're interested, this
Interesting
book,
cover.
this book is not about telling you to believe in God. This book allows you to find your truth, your connection to him, or if you're disconnected from him, it might spark something inside of you to say, well, that's interesting. Because it's really about life. It's really about living life. And like I said, I was a construction worker for 35 years. I was in the trenches, and I allowed my spiritual heart to shine through in my everyday life. But I definitely didn't tell somebody God is going to be vengeful to you, or you must believe, because it's not my place to do so. And I love that we had this conversation.
Me too.
I love it. I love it, and that, we were able to peacefully coexist, but we were able to, duke it out a little bit.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I thank you so much for staying on, for keeping civil with me. Good luck with the book and everything else. Stay safe out there, and we'll keep in touch.
And I appreciate that, you took the time, and I had a feeling that you might have been here for another reason, but I wanted to come to the table anyway, because
Absolutely.
I thought that it would be healthy for people to hear the different perspectives, but to recognize that, I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I just am
Gotcha.
who I am.
That's all I ask you. It's like, Papa, I am what I am, and that's what I am.
I love
I love it. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Michael,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to patreon.com/BSW the podcast and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will give you access to the patron feed, unaired conversations, early access to each episode, and much more. For the latest events, BSW swag, and a peek behind the scenes, head on over to the show's ever-evolving webpage at thebiblesayswhat.com. The Bible Says What the book is out. Head on over to thebiblesayswhat.com and get yourself and your grandma a signed copy. Thanks to the cosmic powers of the internet, it is now possible to buy me a beer or coffee online. Simply go to buymeacoffee.com/BSW the podcast and click the appropriate buttons. If you can't support the show monetarily, please like, share, and or leave a review. As always, you can find me at the Bible Says What Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram pages. You can also reach me at bswthepodcast@gmail.com. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly pick up your Bibles and read them? Before we begin today's, nope. Just a quick announcement before we begin the intro. As an added bonus holiday season bonus. God damn it, man. Read the fucking line. From, nope. Just as